Okay.
Okay, so I started recording. For this week, I actually have like several items on the agenda that I would like to follow up. The first one is actually sort of like the highest priority at this point, given the status, and that's actually something that Harry was working on with respect to image locality priority function. Harry, do you have any update on that? I know that it's kind of blocked by the fact that images are not reported in a consistent way from the node to the scheduler. So the node status actually has some information which is heavily dependent on the container runtime that we use. And that makes it a little hard for the information to be consumed by other components, including the scheduler. So what is the status on that? Harry, do you have any update?
Yeah. I have talked with SIG node about this issue today, and we have reached agreement that we can just work around it right now by ignore some unmatch. For example, the Docker report a shorter image name, so we just ignore it because it's risk to assume that all the container runtimes will report a consistent image name. So I think it's fine.
So basically, you want to ignore everything that Docker reports?
No, it's just like we will only set the image name we use to pull the image, no matter what container runtime we use.
I see.
So if some container runtime reports something different from the name it is used to pull, then we just ignore. So it will be only a small part of the case.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the workaround we are thinking today. And I have already sent up for request. I hope it can be merged in this week. I hope Signal folks will.
Okay, cool. Yeah, if there is anything on the scheduling side that you would like us to review, please ping me, or maybe Klaus or Jonathan. One of us can do the review basically before the code freeze. I tried for a while to keep up with the notifications that I receive from GitHub about the code reviews that are assigned to me, but after a while they become too many and I cannot really keep up with the notifications. So at this point, it's just basically me randomly browsing GitHub pages, kind of randomly. Quite, but kind of randomly browsing GitHub pages and finding about the PRs that need my attention. But please ping me with the information about the PRs if there is anything that I should review.
Yeah. Right now, scheduler is not the blocker, so I'm still working on Signal part, and we have reached agreement. That's good news.
All right, great. I'm glad that it's going forward. It's actually going to be very useful, and it's hopefully will be shipped soon in 1.11.
It's on track right now.
All right, great. Thank you. Next item is taints node by condition and also taint-based evictions. Klaus, do you have any updates on that side?
Yeah, so for the taint node by condition, I think maybe we can with better to move to next release because there are about 3 or 4 PR under the review. It depends on the feedback from the reviewer.
Okay. So you think it's not going to make it to 1.11?
Yes, I think that will be safe to for next release. We need to signal the review, and we also need to some people to review different components. That will be that will take time for us.
Sure. So we should move it to 1.12, right?
Yes, that will be better. Yeah.
Okay. So this should be 1.12, and a couple more things. Actually, I have another question with respect to the daemon set work that you are working on. So
yes,
what is the status on that? I felt like the PR is almost ready.
Yes.
So hopefully we can merge it before the code freeze, right?
Yes. I think the daemon site is it's okay because the PR is almost ready here, and this is the the last one, and I already opened the document PR in the website yesterday. So okay. I think this I'd like to get this merged before the code freeze. Yeah.
All right, cool. So let me just quickly put it there by default schedule.
Yeah.
And there is actually, with respect to priority and preemption, there is another PR that Ravi sent. Since Ravi is online, we can ask him. So Ravi, I'm talking about the PR that enables priority and preemption by default and changes our end-to-end tests so that it works with priority and preemption. What is the status there? I know that it's kind of blocked by the other PR that adds priority to Coda.
There is.
So do you have any update from the Red Hat side?
Yeah, so that PR which is actually blocking is moving forward. So there is one top level approval like Clayton who has given a couple of comments and we have addressed his. And Derek is also interested in moving this forward. And Derek has already spoken to Clayton. So it should be merged before the end of this week or before 5th, before the code freeze.
Okay, great. I'm glad to hear that. So that is going to get merged for 1.11, and with that, priority and preemption is actually moved to beta properly, meaning that it's going to be available and enabled by default.
I'm sorry, there is one more PR that I have created that actually got blocked by this PR. So I spoke to David Eads from Red Hat, and he's fine with the change that we are making. So I just need to.
What is that PR?
That's the PR that actually moves to beta. So we have two PRs. One is blocking, which is Vikas, which adds priority classes to quota to priority classes.
Right.
And the other PR is my PR, which actually moves priority to beta.
Right.
So the second PR is whatever I have created. David Eads is fine with it. So we are just waiting on the first PR to get merged.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah. The only thing right now is actually the fact that we are not going to schedule daemon set pods by default scheduler in 1.11. There is a little bit of a concern, which actually I had initially because I was thinking that this is a prerequisite to moving priority and preemption to beta, but now I feel maybe it's not. The reason that I was thinking that it is initially is that we are going to disable rescheduler in 1.11. Disabling rescheduler means that if there are critical pods, rescheduler is not going to create room for them. And I felt like since daemon set controller doesn't do preemption, this could be a problem. All the pods that are scheduled by scheduler are fine, but pods that are not scheduled by scheduler could be in trouble. However, when I thought more about it, I realized that daemon set controller would not create pods if nodes cannot run them. So even when rescheduler existed in the past, I guess rescheduler was not helping with daemon set pods getting scheduled or critical daemon set pods getting scheduled. So looks to me that the fact that rescheduler does not exist in 1.11 shouldn't be making any difference for scheduling daemon set pods anyway. They're basically keeping the same old behavior.
Is daemon set controller updated to apply critical priority to the pods, or that's just up to the user?
So the thing is that regardless, the problem is that daemon set controller never creates daemon set pods until it realizes or it finds out that a node can run those pods. So on rescheduler, the way that rescheduler works is that it actually looks at the pending pods that are critical pods, and then goes and removes some pods from nodes to make room for those pods. Since daemon set controller never creates pods, if nodes don't have enough space, then rescheduler is not going to help there. So that's why we're not changing any behavior there.
And the other question, I think, for Klaus, I think the feature to have the scheduler schedule daemon set pods was going to be behind an alpha flag anyway. Is that right?
Sorry. Yeah, alpha. What's the?
Yes. So Jonathan's question is that your feature to schedule daemon set pods by default to scheduler is not going to be enabled by default. It's an alpha feature.
Yes.
Apparently
This
gated.
is alpha in 1.11.
Right.
Oh.
Okay. So.
Yeah. Sorry. I just see your comments of this morning. I think the daemon side controller will check whether this is a critical pod. If this is a critical pod, this will not go through the resource check.
Oh, I see. So if that's the case, then probably the existence of rescheduler mattered, right? For those.
Yes.
And now that we are removing rescheduler, this could cause problem.
Yes.
So we should probably merge this PR. And so basically, I left two comments. The first one was that since we are removing rescheduler, this is going to be a problem if we don't enable it by default. And the second comment was what I just basically said in this meeting, that maybe rescheduler didn't help with scheduling daemon set pods. But you're right. Actually, now when I think about it, I know that the simulate function of daemon set controller adds for critical pods, it bypasses certain checks, and that could actually be a problem if we don't enable the feature.
Yeah, I think that should be fine because this feature is alpha, and in the alpha test, in the alpha end-to-end test, we also enabled the preemption, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So I think what we need to do, maybe we need to update some YAML file to make the critical pod to have a higher priority so we can leverage the preemption to for the end-to-end test, because in alpha test environment all the alpha features are enabled.
Now, but the problem is that we're not talking about alpha features. Let's talk about a production cluster, right? So in a production cluster version 1.11, there is not going to be a new rescheduler, right?
Yes.
So, and daemon set pods are still being scheduled by daemon set controller.
Yes.
So.
Yes. Sure. Yes.
So those critical pods, which are going to be scheduled by daemon set controller, will never be scheduled because daemon set controller will not perform preemption.
Okay, got your point. Yeah, I think that will be an issue for the daemon set controller.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. So basically, those two comments. The first one becomes valid again then. So we need to enable this feature in 1.11. I don't know if the SIG life cycle or whatever, I don't know.
Apps.
SIG apps. Folks agree with this or not, but I feel we need to enable the feature.
Yes.
I have to take another look at the code to make sure that there is nothing that we are missing here, but I feel we should probably enable it.
Sure. I think I will append the link, the code link to your comments. I see your comments this morning. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay.
All right. So one more item. I heard from Rohit that he had talked with you, Klaus, and about gang scheduling.
Yes.
So what's the plan there? Are we going to collect requirements and then move forward with that plan? Or generally, I would like to hear the update from you.
Yes, for the gun scheduling, we have a talk yesterday morning, and I think overall we have a agreement on the requirement, and we give a draft priority for this one. I think what we didn't get the final answer is how to define the API object in the core part.
Right.
Yeah. So I proposed two objects in the document. One is I'd like to introduce a queue job. Another option is a kind of pod scheduling group. And there are also a comments from the Rohit is that that will be hard for us to create a new object in the core part right now.
Yeah, we have to freeze on adding new API objects.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I also got some requirement that we should create CRD for them.
Yes. If we create a CRD, that means the default scheduler maybe imported the CRD, but I don't think that's
that's a problem. Exactly.
Yeah,
so that's a problem. We don't want to make default scheduler aware of PRDs. So if something is not in the core, it cannot make it to the default scheduler in the core. Basically, if we introduce a CRD, all the processing of these CRD API objects or whatever, I don't know what we call it, CRD objects or whatever, should be done by some of these external controllers, essentially.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of a problem, although it could be a solution as well for now. Basically, we can have another component, something similar to Kube Arbitrator that you already have, to take care of the CRD. And once we verify the usefulness and the API of the feature, basically with gang scheduling, then we can move it to the core.
Yes, that's exactly. So anyway, I'm thinking, and Rohit also lists some other options, such as maybe enhance some job specs or something others. Anyway, I will list the option that we can think right now.
Okay.
So yes, I think I will give some suggestion for this part. And for the requirement, I think we are on the same page for the requirement and what we are going to do for this part. We have a priority list. Yeah. Okay. So yes, I think the undecided part is how we handle the API object right now. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. These are all the items that I had on the agenda for this week's meeting. Please go ahead and ask questions, comments.
I'm sorry, I missed the part when Bobby and Klaus were discussing about the daemon set controller. So is that going to be alpha or?
Yes. So the daemon set controller basically used to schedule its own pods. Now we are changing that to make daemon set controller create all the pods that it has, regardless of whether they can be scheduled right away or not, and leave those pods up to the scheduler to schedule. And this new feature is marked as an alpha feature in 1.11.
But I saw your comments earlier, Bobby. Sorry to interrupt you. And you were telling that it could cause an issue for the preemption.
Right.
So
it doesn't cause issue for preemption, but the fact that daemon set controller doesn't do preemption can cause issues. Right. So because we are removing rescheduler, and the rescheduler was the component that used to do preemption in a way for critical pods. And now with the absence of rescheduler, there is no component that does preemption for daemon set pod. if daemon set controller keeps creating daemon set pods when nodes have enough capacity. So in the absence of rescheduler, it feels like it's necessary to schedule daemon set pods by default scheduler that is capable of doing preemption.
Right. So why is that still in alpha? Is like why
That's
are
a
we?
good question. I mean, this is not an API, but it's more like I feel Klaus can tell better. But I feel this is just disabled by default and not necessarily alpha, but it's disabled by default because we are not so confident about the feature yet. It's basically hasn't gotten that much mileage. We haven't enabled it and we don't know if it could cause problem or not. I guess that's why it's disabled by default.
Yes, I think for the feature, for some feature we usually enabled by alpha, and this is disabled by default. And then we will upgrade to beta after we get enough user and get enough code coverage. Nice. So we are going to upgrade to beta, and that will in beta that will be enabled by default.
Right.
Yeah. Yes, I think that's what we are going to do for the to introduce a new feature in the
okay.
in Kubernetes.
So I thought in 110 we already it was already in alpha. Am I wrong or?
Say that again. Sorry, what was the question?
In 110, the daemon set controller scheduling. Sorry, scheduling
no.
on which was in alpha. No. Okay.
No.
Okay.
We actually we wanted to do that, but didn't happen actually. Sorry. Oh, sorry. This phone is ringing and it's ringing everything. No, it was not in alpha because it was the initial plan was to move it to alpha in 110, but I guess some issue happened and we kind of force enabled it by removing basically or adding a false and inside one of our if conditions that was checking the flag. So we were forced to disable the feature in 110, and now it's again in alpha in 111. But it will be great if we can, I don't know how, but either more tests or end-to-end tests to verify that it actually works and enable this by default in 111.
Yeah, or worst cases, I can revert the rescheduler disabling, like whatever the PR that I've created for disabling rescheduler, I can
Unfortunately, it's not as easy. It basically means that we need to disable priority and preemption as well.
Yeah.
Disabling preemption should work. Am I wrong? Like
you're right, but essentially preemption without priority without preemption is not that helpful. I mean, I can see why it could possibly be helpful in some small scenarios.
So is it fair to say that these two things should be behind the same feature flag then?
They are kind of, right, so they are already. And they were until very recently.
It sounds like we're being sort of forced into a world where they have to be both alpha or both beta.
Or you mean by these two features, you mean priority and preemption, or you mean daemon set scheduling by default scheduler and priority and preemption?
Yeah, those are the two features.
Okay. Yeah. So I kind of agree with you. The only problem is that we need to get SIG apps folks to agree with moving this to beta in 111.
And the downside would be the possibility of punting priority and preemption to 112, which is not desirable.
Yeah, exactly. So we have already delayed it, and we don't want to delay it further.
Yeah, like even from Red Hat side, it's kind of important to get that feature in.
Yeah, everybody's waiting for this, so we should probably try to get it enabled in 111. Yeah, Klaus. Let's talk with SIG apps folks and tell them about the issue. I will take another look at the code as well again to make sure that I'm not wrong about critical pods, and we can go from there.
Okay. Sure.
Okay, we have 4 more minutes left in this meeting. If you have any other comments, please raise your now.
I have a quick question about the extended resources.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the right forum?
Sure. Maybe, I don't know, depends on what aspect of extended resources. Is scheduling part of it? Sure.
Right. So I've been trying to test extended resources. I tried it in 1.9 and I'm able to like allocate resource, and if a node is basically if a node, let's say it says allocatable and capacity for an extended resource is, let's say, some quantity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm able to schedule a pod, and access becomes pending. And then if I delete some existing pods, then it reschedules. The only issue that I'm seeing is that I don't see the allocatable decreasing or increasing based on the number of pods. Is that a known issue, or?
The allocatable does not change. So it is
capacity should not change, right? But the allocatable.
The allocatable doesn't change. So on the node side, you should not see the allocatable getting changed. The allocatable is actually generally a fixed value as long as the number of those resources are the same. For example, let's say that you have 5 GPUs or whatever. Those 5 GPUs remain the same on the node side as long as you have physically like 5 GPUs available on the node. It is just the number of those, the accounting of those happens inside scheduler logic. Basically, it's just the scheduler that keeps track of how many of those are allocated and how many of them are available.
So how is that information persisted, that how many are, because of the number of pods that exist?
Yes.
Does it show up in node status?
That's what I'm like. I don't think it shows up anywhere.
What do you mean by what shows up anywhere? I mean,
available GPUs, right?
They do.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to see, if there is any information about on the node, how many have already been allocated is what I'm trying to figure out.
No, on the node, you don't know how many are allocated. You won't see that on the node.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like a feature.
That's what I know. It's just the scheduler that knows how many are generally are available on the node side. By available, I mean how many exist on the node side, and a node has marked those available, and how many pods are scheduled on that node.
Okay, I guess the difference between allocatable and capacity here is that you can reserve some of those for infra components and say they are not.
Exactly.
I see. Okay. I think it would help. I can create an issue. Basically, like looking at a node, if you can query how many are still available, or if the node is running out of capacity, right? And if you want to like alert on those kind of things, it might help to convey the information somewhere.
It could, Node could possibly export those as metrics.
Right.
But I don't know if it would be the right place. For example, node status would be the right place for reporting those.
I see. Okay. For core resources also, it doesn't show anywhere, right? How many are...
Right. The same thing for core resources.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Okay, we are out of time, but if you have any more questions, please go ahead. Going on. Going twice.
None at this point of time, but
go ahead.
I want to know, like, if there is something that we could help to push the daemon set controller PR forward. We'd be more than happy to do it.
Yeah, we should probably all help moving that forward, hopefully in 1.11. I think I'm going to speak with some of our folks here in SIG Apps and see if we can actually agree on moving this forward and enabling this by default in 1.11.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, Bobby.
Thank you. All right. Anything else? Okay. Since we're out of time, let's finish this meeting today.
Okay. Okay. Bye-bye.
All right.
See some of you guys next week.